Rejoice, child. You are one of the infinitesimally small few to be chosen to possibly become one of the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines. To be in such a position entails much respect, fear, and adoration from the menial populace of the Imperium at large. You will be considered one of the Emperor's angels, and you will bring the brutal hammer of humanity down on the galactic horrors that dare threaten his empire. But you are only chosen. If you want to actually succeed in becoming a Space Marine, you need to go through the most grueling trials imaginable. And if you want to be a Space Marine with actual sway amongst his battle brothers, you need to go through decades of combat and even more training. Welcome to the ranking system of the Space Marines. You, child, are not even on the list yet, but with enough sit-ups, push-ups, genetic modifications, and plenty of juice, you can get on that list. The ranking system for the Space Marines was much more extensive before the Horus Heresy, with there being 18 legions of however many members that could be recruited. These legions would organize themselves into chapters of usually 1,000 Marines each, but the numbers varied as the legions grew in size. But after the Horus Heresy, the Primarch Robuote Gigaman penned the Codex Astartes, a book of military tactics, strategy, philosophy, and organization that did away with the Legions system and instead replaced it entirely with the Chapters system. Now, Space Marines can only operate as chapters of 1,000 Marines. These chapters are further divided down into 10 companies with 100 Marines in each one. What each company does depends on its own number and chapter. Some chapters do not fully adhere to the Codex Astartes, or just reject it right out, such as the Black Templars, who have more than 1,000 chapter members, or the Space Wolves and their philosophical deviants. The original names of the Loyalist Legions are still around and are considered founding chapters. Yes, the Loyalist Legions such as the Ultramarines, Iron Hands, White Scars, Imperial Fists, Salamanders, Raven Guard, Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Alpha Legion, and Space Wolves are still around as chapters. The chapters that spring out from these founding chapters are known as successors. This is necessary to know because despite all the different ways chapters handle the method they organize themselves, they still follow the same basic ranking system. They may give some ranks different titles, but they still follow the same command structure. And now, child, you will begin to understand what your future prospects can be, should you shed enough blood, sweat, and tears while in the Emperor's service.
A 500-mile hike, please. That's nothing compared to the Underhive. Aspirant. An aspirant is a potential recruit for the Space Marines that can be found on just about any colonized world in the Imperium. Each chapter of Astartes has its own particular locations they can visit to find potential new blood. They might recruit from a homeworld of significance to the chapter, or they might go to a death world that is full of hardy adolescents that are able to survive its conditions. Hive cities are also popular spots, given that they produce some of the most violent and combat-ready youths imaginable. The more well-known you are among your people, the more likely the Astartes will seek you out. An aspirant must be male, and around 10 to 16 Terran Standard years old in order to coordinate the organ implants with the child's natural growth hormones. The world they are from must be deemed by the chapter's apothecaries and chaplains as being spiritually and genetically pure, so the aspirant is less likely to suffer immunogenetic incompatibility with this potential superhuman physique and will stave off the temptations of chaos. Once you are deemed an aspirant, then you will be put through various trials to prove your worth. Again, like with the planets of recruitment, trials vary depending on the chapter. These challenges can range from being thrown out into a wasteland and finding your way back to the chapter's fortress monastery, to fighting an unarmored marine in close quarters combat. Some of the more psychological trials involve having your mind read by a librarian and not lying to them during an interview. If you are psychically attuned, you might be brought into the Librarius to learn to be a librarian, a psyker Space Marine. Fail these tasks, which is very likely, and you will hope that the chapter that recruited you is lenient with your fate. Once you are deemed worthy, then the real training begins.
You'd think being this big would make me a terrible scout.
Neophyte. The beginning of your transformation into something more than human. You have been judged worthy and have obtained the rank of Neophyte. Neophytes are the rank in which you are surgically given your 19 new organs, 22 if you are a Primaris Marine. These organs are grown from gene seed in labs overseen by the chapter's apothecaries and are monitored closely to determine compatibility and absence of mutation. After you are cleared for surgery, you will be handed over to an apothecary who will oversee the implantation of the organs. The neophyte will be awake and without painkillers for a majority of the surgeries, since some of the organs are neural in nature. Such arduous procedures can take months to complete, but the rewards are extraordinary. You will become larger, stronger, faster, tougher, more aware, and more intelligent. Wisdom comes separately. If you are able to survive the numerous surgeries, genetic issues, and lack of anesthesia, you will be moved into a scout squad. This is where you will get the most out of your new body as you adjust to it in the field of combat. Some chapters, such as the Black Templars and Space Wolves, will put their neophytes on the front lines alongside the other fully inducted warriors. In Codex Astartes compliant chapters, they will usually be designated to the 10th Company, where they will be assigned a sergeant to lead them on scouting missions. A promotion is not determined by the amount of time spent in the company, but by the satisfaction of your superiors. You will learn, reflect, and understand what it means to be an angel of the Emperor. And remember, you are still not a fully inducted Space Marine yet. Even after all of this, you can still be considered a failure. You could be mind scrubbed and be a chapter serf, or be lobotomized and turned into a servitor. Whatever the outcome, you'll know that you will never be seen as an equal to a battle brother. A large majority of aspirants never even got this far, so at least take some pride in that.
Hydra courage and honor.
Battle brother. Congratulations! You passed your initiation, and I am now honored to call you my battle brother. This is the standard Space Marine rank for one that has gone up the list from potential failure to finished product. An upgrade from the Scout Marine armor to the standard battle plate of the proud Space Marines is in order. Your options for combat will open up significantly as you are designated into squads pertaining to your assigned role. You could specialize in frontline tactics or support measures. You might want to pilot vehicles only an Astartes could manage. You could be melee or ranged focus, maybe even both. Regardless, you will be placed into a squad of 10 other battle brothers led by a sergeant who will impart their knowledge onto you. A battle brother will start off in the 6th to 9th companies as reserves, whose job will be to support the 2nd to 5th battle companies. Reserves replace the Marines in the 2nd to 5th companies as battle attrition takes its toll on the chapter. Training and background support will be your duty, so long as your chapter isn't desperate enough to push all of its reserves into the front lines after a catastrophe has occurred, which seems to be always. Being in the 2nd to 5th companies is where you will see the most combat action so far in your career. You will be in the front of it all and be able to make more of a name for yourself. The overall goal, should you be desiring a promotion, is to achieve veteran status. You might spend a century before your brothers in battle recognize you as such, all the while moving on through different companies. As you gain glory, you might be awarded with honorary titles such as champion and duties such as being a standard bearer. When you finally become a veteran, you may be invited to join the 1st Company, the strongest collection of Marines in your chapter. This company delegates its members to other companies as elite strike forces. There are also specialist divisions you could join, such as the Armory, the Apothecarian, or the Reclusium. Get to know your brothers, for they are the bonds that will keep you alive in this brutal galaxy.
A promotion after seeing so many of my brothers pass away. But I'm still standing better than I ever did.
Sergeant. You are now ready for responsibility. You will don your new distinct Space Marine attire and lead command of your very own 10-man squad on missions. You are the leader now, so don't fail your brothers. Also, it is now your turn to impart your experience towards your lower-ranked chapter members. In Codex Astartes compliant chapters, a red skull on the left shoulder plate and a red helmet are the sergeant's badges of rank. In other chapters, the rank may go by another name. The Celestial Lions have the Pride Leader, the Space Wolves have the Pack Leader, the Grey Knights go by the Justicar, the Excoriators use the Squad Whip, etc. Even if you are not considered a veteran, you can still be promoted to this rank. You can lead a jetpack jumping assault squad or a sneaky scout squad, Reaver squads for up-close melee slaughter, and Hellblaster squads for ranged heavy plasma volleys. Maybe even an unbreakable Terminator squad, should you possess the Crux Terminus, the mark of a veteran, and the license needed to wear a suit of rare and powerful Terminator armor. Sergeants usually take to the field, dual-wielding both ranged and melee weapons. This is usually to distinguish themselves further from the rest of their squad mates, and to invoke a sense of status. The respect you command will be necessary when in the middle of intense firefights and brawls. You are the glue that keeps your squad together. Raise your squad mates up, and they will raise you up as well.
A shame what happened to that one sergeant. He went out like a hero. Too bad we couldn't find his body.
Lieutenant. A revived rank brought on by Gigaman revising the Codex Astartes after his resurrection. It originally fell out of use after the Horus Heresy, ironically with Gigaman's original copy of the book. But now it has been reinstated to allow for more flexibility in the companies of a chapter during the Indomitus Crusade. There are 2 lieutenants in every company, and they act as the seconds in command to the company's captain. In battles that involve an entire company, these 2 lieutenants will divide the 100 Marines into 2 demi-companies of 50 each. They then take command while acting upon their captain's orders. These 2 battle-hardened Marines will defend their captain's life at any cost. Capes are for catching the winds of victory. So says I, Cato Sicarius. Captain. Captains are the leaders of an entire company of Space Marines. In a Codex Astartes compliant chapter, there will be 10 of them, and they are each in command of 100 Marines. Their tactical knowledge and combat prowess are second to none, as they have most likely spent centuries in service to their chapter. They will have either made their capabilities of leadership known while in the service of the first company, or they will take over the role of captain in their own respective company after their predecessor's untimely end. Captains, again in Codex Astartes compliant chapters, are given different titles depending on what companies they lead. They are Master of the Keep, Master of the Watch, Master of the Arsenal, Master of the Fleet, Master of the Marches, Master of the Rites, Chief Victor, Lord Executioner, Master of Relics, Master of Recruits, and Master of Reconnaissance. Ranks of Captain are also bestowed on those who lead the specialist groups in a chapter. These include the Master of Sanctity, Master of the Apothecarian, Master of the Forge, and the Chief Librarian. This rank is also one that many various chapters title differently, such as Master for the Dark Angels, Shadow Captain for the Raven Guard, Wolf Lords for the Space Wolves, and Khan for the White Scars. The major thing that sets the rank of captain apart from all the other lower ranks is that they will actually be involved in negotiations with the higher political bodies of the Imperium. They must be more than skilled warriors or tacticians. They must be diplomats, with cunning and shrewdness to handle situations involving uncooperative groups. They must be force commanders, able to handle battlefields involving several different chapters of Space Marines and their idiosyncrasies and cultures. But, most importantly, they must be examples that inspire their current and future brothers-in-arms. Captains are the ones who will appear in most Imperium propaganda reels that involve the Space Marines, and many will go on to have their stories spoken amongst the stars.
Life and limb, courage and honor.
Chapter Master. The top of the command structure for the Loyalist Space Marine chapters. They know their own chapters inside and out through centuries of camaraderie and achievement. Chapter Masters are the embodiment of their chapters, and their word is law within it. Whatever they command, their 1,000 Space Marines and 10 companies will follow. They have access to every resource of their chapter available to them. Battle barges, Dark Age technology, strike cruisers, and battle brothers. From the largest planet-destroying superweapon to the lowliest menial, a chapter master has claim over it all. A chapter master's residence, and therefore their chapter's residence, will be ruled by them. If the chapter is fleet-based, then the chapter master controls where every ship moves. If the chapter has its roots based on a certain world, then the chapter master will oversee its protection, as well as the safety of its surrounding solar system. As such, they must be governors as well as warriors. Chapter masters essentially control their own civilization, and they must protect it fiercely.
Leave no secret revealed.
The continuation of their chapter's existence relies on them protecting it from Xenos invasions, heretical cults, plagues, societal collapse, etc. Should a chapter master die, it will deal the most severe blow to their chapter's morale. But a replacement is not that hard to find, as the chapter master will usually designate someone underneath them, an heir apparent, before they meet their end. The mortal people that they look after will also do anything in their power to keep the chapter's existence from dying out. They look to their Space Marine leaders as protectors and saviors. Basically, they feel safe knowing that a chapter of superhumans is right within their sphere of interaction. This rank doesn't take orders from anyone else, except possibly other chapter masters and, most definitely, higher powers such as Inquisitors or the High Lords of Terra. This rank is also subject to different titles based in a specific chapter, with the Iron Hands using Iron Father and the Blood Angels using Commander. They are masters of their domain, and should their chapter fall, then they will be forever remembered for that shame in the Imperium's long-spanning history. But should they raise up a united, cohesive force that can protect not just its own domain, but the planets within their surrounding systems, then they will be placed among the greatest heroes to have ever walked among mortals. You have met the expectations of your duty and exceeded them. Now, let me help shoulder your burdens, my son. Primarch, a rank that no human can possibly achieve. These beings were the original leaders of the Space Marine legions, and each one is a genetically engineered, transhuman son of the Emperor. They are the genetic template for which every gene seed is grown from, and their genes are found within the gene seeds of their respective founding and successor chapters. There were 18 Primarchs originally, but, after the Horus Heresy and many other horrific events, now there are fewer. The many different loyalist chapters of the Imperium can trace their origins to a specific Primarch. Some successor chapters may have branched out from a legion whose Primarch had fallen to the temptations of chaos, but they strive to prove themselves loyal to the Imperium every day. These beings are looked at as demigods even by the already superhuman ceramite-wearing soldiers that serve under them. A Primarch will look at the Marines that carry his gene seed as their sons, and they in turn will refer to him as their father. As far as command goes, Primarchs answer to no one except for the orders of their father, the Emperor of Mankind. Currently, in the 42nd millennium, there are only 2 loyalist Primarchs that have returned to the aid of the Imperium, compared to the 7 traitors under the banner of Chaos. In terms of ranking for the loyalists, a Primarch has absolute authority over not just their founding chapter, but over every connected successor chapter.
I know you're not actually there.
Do not ignore me, you little shit.
They can go against the established hierarchy of the High Lords of Terra, do things that spite the Empire-established fears and paranoia of the Imperial cult, and even override the rules and established traditions of their old legion. The Primarch Robuote Gigaman is currently Imperial Regent and Lord Commander of the Imperium, and he has absolute authority on all matters of the Empire, second only to the Emperor. Lionel Johnson is currently slaying his way across the Imperium trying to destroy severely damaging chaos plots. Gigaman was able to invite an Eldari Farseer to a meeting amongst top Imperial military commanders so that he could divulge critical advice. The Lion has the presence and the authority to go against the Dark Angels' purging of the Fallen and even offer the Fallen forgiveness and a chance at redemption. Gigaman has established a branch of the Adeptus Administratum that actually records the factual history of what is happening during the Indomitus Crusade, and the Lion is massing forces among the different successor chapters to create a more unified fighting force that transcends the self-imposed boundaries put up by their chapter masters. For 10,000 years, the Imperium of Man has been in stagnation to the point of near collapse, but with the return of the Loyalist Primarchs, great change will follow. The grim dark normalcy the Empire wallows in will be shaken up, for better or worse, who can say? Thank you for listening to my lore video on Space Marine chapter rankings. What did you all think of the abundance or lack of information? I'm personally surprised with how little lore there is with lieutenants and sergeants. But it is a good thing to know that the Lion is back in the picture. This will be delicious intel to give to the rest of the warband. Hydra Dominatus.